Ciao and welcome back to Tortellino time. We're getting very close to Easter, so I thought I'll do something which is very typical of southern Italy, very often made for Easter. It's an adaptation of something called Torta Pasqualina. Torta stands for cake, Pasqualina stands for Easter, but this is not going to be a sweet cake, it's going to be a savory cake. However, I did say it's an adaptation. Instead of making a cake, I will be making a roll using some puff pastry, but also the inside is going to be slightly different. There'll be a little Francesco's adaptation, which frankly I think is going to taste a little bit better than the classic one. Anyway, I'll show you what to do. As it is typical of Easter, I will be using eggs, and I've just boiled 4 eggs. You might be already aware of this, but I'm going to share you my little tip. Hot water, I will dilute it initially with some cold water. I will drain it and I will refill it with cold water, and I'll turn it off and I'll leave them to cool down for a few minutes. And you will see that when I come to take the eggs out of the shell, they'll come out very easily. In the meantime, I am removing the skin from a large clove of garlic, and I'm slicing it in very little pieces like this. Olive oil in a saucepan. And don't worry, I know that the oil is cold, doesn't matter, it's even better as the garlic will release even more flavor when I heat it up. I will be putting this on the hob and adding some spinach in a moment, but I just wanted to mention that this is the first variation from the classic recipe. Generally in Italy they boil the spinach, they then drain the water, and then they continue with the rest of the recipe. I prefer doing it like this because when you are boiling spinach in water, you're actually diluting the goodness and you lose a lot of the flavor, whereas like this, all of the goodness from the spinach is trapped within the pan and you get a lot more flavor. And also there is the garlic, of course. Temperature is medium high, and the garlic has been seasoning for a minute. Do not leave it too long before you add the spinach, otherwise the garlic will burn and it will become really bitter. And although it looks like there is quite a lot there, and there is I suppose, do not worry, just cram it in and the spinach will considerably shrink as it cooks. And that is perfect. It is all in. I'll just put the lid on and I'll turn the temperature down onto medium low now. Here, number 4 will do fine. And I'll leave it for a few minutes. And as I've already mentioned, do not worry, the spinach will really shrink to something like 30% of the current volume. So you'll see in a few minutes. But let's take a look at the eggs and see if my trick has worked. You can see that actually some of them broke while they were cooking. Typical of eggs. So I'll give you a demo using a whole one here, this one. And look how easy it is to actually remove the shell. No trouble, no fuss. Less than 5 seconds. I'll do it again. 1, 2, and there you go, look. Perfect. Absolutely wonderful. And here is my last one. And the shells, they can go to Julie. She has got a compost bin and she just crushes everything, and we put it in the garden for compost. In the meantime, let's have a look at the spinach, and as you can see, they've already halved in size, and that big sense of grandeur is disappearing progressively. So I'll put the lid back on, a few more minutes and they'll be ready. And as predicted, look, they've shrunk in size considerably, and they are nearly ready. However, if you look at the bottom, there is a little bit of water, which I don't want. And equally well, I don't want to drain it either. So what I'll do, I'll turn the temperature up on high, and I will leave it to cook for another minute or two until the water has evaporated. And literally within a couple of minutes all of the water has evaporated, and they are still lovely and moist, and all of the goodness has been retained, of course. What I'll do next though, I will spread them nice and wide. I want them to cool down a little fast, and by spreading them wide they will cool down quicker, and then I'll be adding some more ingredients. So I'll see you in a few minutes. The spinach in the Torta Pasqualina is always married with ricotta cheese, which is what I'm going to be using today. But if you don't like ricotta cheese, you can also use cottage cheese if you like, or even mascarpone, but any creamy cheese will be fine. Obviously, I am sticking to traditions today as much as I can, and I'm going to add the ricotta cheese. Followed by a sprinkle of salt, and of course a little pepper. Very key ingredient for the Pasqualina is nutmeg, so if you like nutmeg, definitely add it in. On the other hand, if you're not keen, do not put it in. It's not the end of the world, but it definitely adds a supreme flavor to the final product. And I'm going to be very generous because we love it. Followed by some Italian grated cheese. This is Parmesan cheese. You can also use pecorino, or if you want, you can also use cheddar or any cheese you like, as long as you can grate it. But of course, if you want to stick to Italian traditions, you should be using Parmesan cheese. And I'm gonna go in with my fork now and mix everything together. And as the spinach are still nice and warm, there is a beautiful flavor coming up from the nutmeg, but also it's reacting very well with the garlic. And continue mixing until you get this beautiful and smooth paste, just like this. And always very important when you're cooking, especially when you're doing something like this, taste it to make sure that you're satisfied with the salt, pepper and the flavor. So let's have a look. It's absolutely perfect. Be careful with salt, because if you're using pecorino or Parmesan cheese, they are very salty as far as cheese goes, so you can always add salt later, of course. And I'm ready to make my roll next, and to make it a little bit easier on me, I'm going to be using some baking paper. I mentioned Pastry. This is a roll which weighs 320 grams, and they come all ready made and incredibly easy to do, of course. So I'll unroll it, turn it around, and I will remove this paper. And very simply, I'll start adding my spinach ricotta on top of my puff pastry. And I'm leaving a little gap from the edges so that when I roll it, it will not just spill everywhere. And I'll go ahead and position my eggs inside next, and I'll put them this way here. I'll turn this the other way, and very slowly and carefully, I'll start rolling my puff pastry. If it tries to escape, just bring it back with a spoon and carry on. Likewise, at the end, I can see that it's going to be a problem, so I'm going to bring some in and I'll carry on. Puff pastry is quite stretchy, so feel free to just go the other way, and don't worry too much if there is the little hole, that's fine. I think I was a little bit too greedy with the fillings, and I'm now paying the price, but I'm using a little teaspoon to push the spinach on the inside. This side is not too bad, that's pretty much there. In here, where I've got a little hole, so that there is no drama, I'll just patch it up. So I'll gently turn it the other way, and using my fingers I'll go along and close this as best as I can, and I'm now doing the same on the other side. There is a little bit of a spillage, but that's good enough to me, I'm sure that you will agree. It's nearly ready to go in the oven, but a couple more things before I put it in. Fork, and I'll pierce a few holes on the top, just like this. This will ensure that the roll will breathe as it cooks, but also it will look much better once it's cooked. New egg. I'll remove the white from the yolk, there. I'll break the yolk, and I'm now applying the egg on top of my roll. Do ensure that it is at room temperature, and you will find that this will be considerably easier. Using the hard-boiled eggs was variant number 2 from the classic recipe, because the torta, or the cake, generally people put the eggs uncooked on top of the spinach ricotta. They dig a little hole with the spoon, and then it cooks in the oven. So I am slightly migrating, because I'm doing it in a roll and I cannot put obviously uncooked eggs in there. But I'm now also applying variant number 3, and these are sunflower seeds, which I'm sticking on top of my egg, and they will give the roll a beautiful finish, a bit like bread. You don't have to add any, of course, but if you've got some sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds or any seeds in your cupboard, just put them in. They definitely look good. And before it goes in the oven, as I've got too much paper now, I'll just remove this excess baking paper. I've got a little oven tray ready, and I'll just gently lift it and position it in the middle, and it is ready to go in. Temperature 180 degrees in a fan assisted oven. If you've got a normal conventional oven, up the temperature to 190, and I'll put it in for 30 minutes, anything between 30 to 35 minutes, or until the puff pastry is cooked. And you will know that because it will puff and it will look beautiful and brown. So I'll see in about 35 to 40 minutes. And 30 minutes on exactly, and it is ready, and I have to say it looks superb. It has actually opened up a little here, and I think it looks even better. Anyway, it's piping hot, so I'm going to leave it for about 10 to 15 minutes before I slice, otherwise I'll go all over the place. I'll see you in a little while. You know that time of the day when from daylight, the day transition into darkness, and I think the word is dusk.
Dusk, yeah.
Dusk, yes, and vampires, they start waking up in their bed, and they are not quite fully alerted yet, and they are beginning to get alerted. That is the same when the smell of what I cook is around the house, and Julie emerges, and she pops a little head around the corner, and she said to me, "Do you need any help me with filming the end of the video?" And there she is. She's arrived.
It smells absolutely lovely, everybody. And I'm really hungry. It's a bit late actually for me, so I'm really hungry.
Yeah, really late. She's just like clockwork, honestly. I'm going to slice a piece, and actually has been resting for a good 15 minutes. If you leave it longer, it will be considerably easier to slice it. But also, once it's cooled down, you can put it in the fridge, and this will last in the fridge 3 or 4 days easy, because you know, there is no meat in there, and all of the ingredients are very much easy to keep in the fridge. But I'll just turn it around, and I'm going to show you. Hopefully, if I
May I point out, everybody, I don't think this will last 3 or 4 days.
No, but I'm trying to get across the egg so that we get a good view of what it looks like on the inside. Bread knife to do this, of course, and I'm going to gently open it. Oh, look at that, bang on in the middle.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's still steaming a little, but that's fine. We're going to eat in a little while. And I just finished doing my pizza, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to also slice it, so that you can take a slice for lunch if you want, and to your office and make everybody jealous. See? Wonderful.
Or stink them all out, you mean, with the hard-boiled egg?
Possibly.
People are not too happy with hard-boiled eggs on trains or in the office.
Well, they might not be happy, but do you care? I wouldn't. Really good. Dead easy, dead quick, deliziosa. Arrivederci, buon appetito. Make it. You will absolutely love it. Ciao, ciao. See you later.